that you might be blessed. Have a read of Deuteronomy 30 and you'll see. And then out of Deuteronomy 30, hopefully someone's videoing this or recording this, but in Joshua 24:15 it says, "As for me and my household, we will serve the Lord." You might say to me, "But I don't have a household, I'm a young guy and I can live the way I want to as a young guy." Well, actually God says that he has plans for you in Jeremiah 29:11. Plans to prosper you, not to harm you, but to give you a future and a hope. But it's your choice. It's that invitation of that deepening relationship, David, with the Lord. So it's in your hands for what you would like to do in that response. So yeah, God's prepared in advance work for you to do. That's pretty exciting. Pretty exciting, isn't it? Yeah, fantastic. Wendy, as I just shared with you, what I saw was the Lord would say to you that he sees you as a handmaiden of the Lord. Mary was a handmaiden of the Lord. So was Martha. Both were loved deeply by Jesus. Do you know they were two of Jesus' closest friends, as with Lazarus? Because Jesus used to go and hang out with them at Bethany, didn't he? It was the place. And so as he went to their home, they'd hang out together. So I can just see that there's times that you hang out with Jesus. Basically that means that you talk with him and you listen to him and you experience him. And as you sit at his feet and you experience him, I can see you pray and you listen to him and respond to him. And yet I see you go from that place and I can see you being ready to serve, ready just to bless, ready just to do good things for other people. And you've got that heart that says, I just want to serve God. Let me be a servant in the house of the Lord, that I would bless him and bless his people. And God's pleased with that. And God's going to use that. And God's going to multiply that so that you would be a servant of others and you would then help others in their serving. Yeah, so God bless you. Yeah, so let me see, where was I going? I wanted to share also with Teddy. Teddy, what I saw was, God's got a word for you, Teddy, and this word is entrepreneur. Entrepreneur. New ideas, new visions, new possibilities, new horizons. And with those new ideas and those, someone's recording it for you, they'll get it for you later, but with those new ideas and those new possibilities and that entrepreneurship, he will give you an idea. And as he gives you that idea, you'll know that was from God. And as you hear that from God, and as you know that that is from God, you will see blessing upon that. As you see blessing upon that, and I'm talking financial as well as blessing well-being, but as you see blessing upon that, remember, it's God that has enabled you to do that. It's God that's given you that idea. And then as the finances come in, God will multiply those finances. And I can see it's like a treasure chest and it's full of these gold coins. And I see those gold coins overflowing. And they're overflowing, and that treasure chest never runs dry in life as you continue to pour it out for others. And that's the secret. That's the secret key to unlocking that treasure chest, is that you multiply out those gold coins for others. So as he's giving you that idea, and he's giving you that capacity, and he's giving you that entrepreneurship, then as you multiply that out, that will overflow and be a blessing for others. Amen. Yeah, okay. God bless you, Teddy. So, what am I doing? I'm sharing as God is quickening me. I'm sharing prophetically as I have for over 20 years so that it can be a blessing for other people. I'm inviting people to record it so that they can then reflect upon it. I had this funny experience. I was, I think, at an airport, and as I was at an airport, I was just chatting with someone. That's right. It was a lady, an old lady, and her suitcase was too big for her, and so I just went to help her to pull it off, and she said thank you, and I just spoke briefly to her. The person next to her turned to me and said, "Oh, are you Pastor Brian?" I didn't know. And they said, "Oh, I remember you 15 years ago." And I said, "Oh, great." Would have been back in city life and we had thousands of people and I was preaching regularly. So I said, "Oh, great. So I'm Brian. What's your name?" "Oh, don't you remember me? You prophesied over me. I've still got the tape." I said, "That's great. Just remind me of your name." Yeah. So I've listened to the people since then. So anyway, he made himself known, and then he introduced his wife, and he said, "Do you know that prophetic word would still listen to it today? because it's on tape, and I know your voice, and I recognised your voice because my face had changed from over 20 years ago. Don't you say that. So anyway, but he recognised my voice. Now that's why I say not so you recognise my voice, but recognise the voice of the Father. And so record what you hear prophetically from people, and then you test it against Scripture and see if it's consistent with Scripture, and then you test it with your spiritual leadership and see if it's consistent, and they sense that too, and then pray together. And then according to Habakkuk 2:2, turn to Habakkuk 2:2. Approximately, I'm approximising for sake of time, but in Habakkuk 2:2 it says this: write it down and make it plain, the vision that you have received, so that others would benefit from your hearing, and so that you can then run with it. Basically, I'm paraphrasing, I know. But so for you, what you want to be thinking about is, as you're receiving prophetically, which some of you will, maybe not all of you, but I may visit another time, or whatever, others may speak with you prophetically, or you may share with one another. But as you receive, if you record it, if you take it down, then you can actually run with it and you can measure it. And just let me give a personal example. Just this week, I told you I was at Springvale Christian College, and I was teaching the teachers, and we were having a great time with this professional development, and I finished, and they were very appreciative, all that stuff. But then this teacher came up to me, and kind of with a little bit of trembling, he sort of said, "Oh, I've got a word for you." It kind of staggered him, but I've got a word for you if you want it. Bring it on, bring it on. I think he was trying to work out if he was allowed to. Whatever. So I said, go ahead and share. And he said this to me: God's inviting you on an adventure. This was the word I received just this week. God's inviting you on an adventure. If you want to go on that adventure, you can, but you have to push through to go on the adventure. You can choose to stay safe. And if you choose to stay safe, that's okay. But if you want to go on the adventure that God's got ahead for you, you need to press through with faith to go on that adventure. And he said, do you know what? Just recently, I've stepped out in faith. So I resigned at Harvest Bible College from being Dean of Faculty, and I've stepped out in faith. I'm starting up a ministry, and as I start up that ministry, it's to pastor pastors, it's to consult with churches, and it's to do missions. And I'm also working with Asian Outreach and Action Love. So Asian Outreach, we plant, and we help churches plant church planting churches throughout Asia, and also we do development work, poverty alleviation and community transformation throughout Asia as well. And so we're doing those two things. In about 12 nations in Asia, in Cambodia, we've seen thousands and thousands of people coming to know Jesus and coming out of poverty through the work of Asian Outreach. I've been with them for 5 years, but I've been doing it in my spare time. Now I've stepped out in faith, and I've said, no more taking a wage, now looking to the Lord in faith and going on an adventure. Now I'd done that just 1 month ago. This guy speaks to me just this week. And as he's speaking to me this week, I knew God was saying this was the adventure that I was going on. And so as I've stepped out in faith with that adventure, I'm trusting God. And I'm saying, okay, you make a way, you guide me in what I'm doing, and I'll work with different churches and different denominations and things like that in different places, and I trust you'll provide. So as I'm stepping out in faith to do that, I share that example to simply say that we are all on an adventure with God. Are you on an adventure with God? Yeah. Are you ready to step out in faith? Maybe in a different way to me, but are you ready to step out in faith and to trust God? Because I tell you, to step out in faith means, Lord, come and speak into my life. It doesn't mean leave your job. It doesn't mean leave your country, necessarily for you. It may not. But it means to be honest, to follow Jesus, to do the things he's calling you to do, to press into God, to allow him to speak to you, to allow him to touch your life and even to ruffle your feathers, so to speak, to stir you up in the nest and to launch you forward. And as he does that, I believe the adventure will be exciting for you. Because for some of you, it's like this. You're feeling fairly safe in your knowledge of God, in the way God does things, and it's worked out quite neatly. But actually God wants to unsettle some of that. It's okay, because he's going to put it back into actually a very exciting place. Yeah. See, Alva, what God's doing within your life is it's been a time of preparation. It's been a time of training. It's been a time of consolidation, even within your own life. But there's a time from the consolidation to a time of expansion, to a time of further training, so that there would be further fruitfulness for the things of God. That there would be a multiplication of that fruitfulness for God. You've said, but I'm happy to sit back, and I'm happy to let others serve, and I'm happy to let others go forward, and I'm happy not to be up the front, and it doesn't matter, and it doesn't need to be me. But actually, there's something deep within your heart that God's put as a seed, that he's saying that this seed, he wants that to grow, and he wants that to multiply, and he wants that to create fruit, so that that fruit would feed others. And that fruit would then be nourishment for others' souls. See, to me, it's not about the gifts God's given me. It's not about me. Anyone can come up and share here, depending on their training. Balaam's donkey was able to share prophetically with Balaam. So it's not about the person, it's about the gifts that God's given us, so that we would be a blessing for other people. And so for you, Alva, that's what God's inviting you to that expansion, to that growth, to that stepping out. The word of the Lord to you is, don't hold back. Let God have the reins, and it will be a great journey. Yeah. Ruby, what I saw was, sure, oh, beautiful name, Ruby. It's a great job. I love my daughter's names too. But whoever your mum is and your dad, well done. Oh, well, there you go. Are they both your daughters? That's not bad. That wasn't even prophetic, you know. So as in identical twins. So, yeah, okay. So, well, you know, it's a bit hard one. So we'll start with Ruby. What's mum's name again? Ping. Thank you. So Ruby, I started talking about your name. Please bear with me with that, because it's a bit hard for you, I know. But it's like, sometimes God shows me through all sorts of different ways. But I saw you're named correctly. So receive and thank God for that, because you are shining for him. And he's polishing you, and he's shaping you. And from what I understand, the ruby will be cut in different ways so the best shining can come forward. So sometimes the cuts hurt, and sometimes the shaping hurts, and it can cause some pain. Yet it's the fashioning and the shaping that God is bringing for his glory and for your benefit. And as he's shaping you, I can see that you're going to shine for him. You're going to shine for him in leadership. You're going to shine for him in leadership in the workplace, as well as leadership within the church. In fact, it's quite strong, that capacity that God has given you to be able to do that. Now, as a young person, you're probably thinking, I don't know what he's talking about. I ain't doing that. And that's okay too. But look in 10 years' time back on this word, and you'll say, wow, I had no idea. But look at what you've done, God. Look at what you've done, God. And you cooperate with him, and he'll be able to do that through you. And it was really interesting, because I was looking around the group and I was receiving a prophetic word for nearly everyone. And I didn't realise, Ping, that your daughters were your daughters, and I didn't realise that they were twins. But as I was praying, and often I'll pray and you see me looking around the group, and I'm listening to God for a word for people. And as I was listening, I'm trying to teach you about prophecy as well as share prophetically with people. As I was listening to God, I was finding it hard to separate the two of you. Now I understand why. but I was. But you're very different. Whilst you may have similar appearance, you're very different in who you are. And what I saw, Nancy, upon your life is this capacity. Really sure you have this, but now I'm going to concentrate on Nancy, so it's okay. So Nancy, what I saw was there's this capacity in your life to love. to love people. In fact, I can see at times, it's almost like whether you've done this practically or whether you've just thought it, it's like you'll take a wounded bird and you'll mend the wing of the wounded bird and bring comfort. You don't have to have done it naturally, physically, but it's like within your heart there is that capacity to love. God's increasing that capacity to love. Sometimes He'll increase that capacity to love by bringing people across your path that aren't so lovely. Because they're harder to love. And that increases your capacity to love. He'll also add to your life wisdom. Wisdom. You read Proverbs about wisdom. Read James and Proverbs. They're the two books of the Bible. He wouldn't even just give me chapters, he gave me whole books. So I want you to read James and Proverbs. And as you read James and Proverbs, ask God, teach me about wisdom. Start with Proverbs and then read James. Teach me about wisdom, because He's giving you wisdom and He's going to expand that wisdom in your life. Wisdom. And while we're on it, Ruby, I want you to read 1st and 2nd Timothy and Titus about leadership. Okay. So, what I've been doing is sharing prophetically. How have I been sharing prophetically? While I've been speaking, I've been listening to God. How much of those words did I have for those two girls? Let's just give the example of those two girls, or for David or Wendy or whoever. How much of those words? I had a little bit. I had a little bit. But as I spoke, I stepped out in faith to seek to bring benefit and blessing to the people. Let me give you a prophetic example. Yeah, I think I should give you this example. Let me give you an example of how sometimes God will speak to me. And I believe you can grow in these areas as well as you press into Jesus. Mark Connor, who is the senior minister at City Life Church, I used to pray with Mark and so on, be part of his intercessory prayer team, but it was a leaders meeting, and he was up the front in the leaders meeting, and I was up the back for some reason. I think as a pastor I was greeting people or doing something, and he was speaking. He was speaking on leadership and inspiring the church. And just suddenly I had this thought, and this word came to me, and the Lord said to me this. He said, Mark will go on TV. And when he goes on, like it came from nowhere. I didn't know where it came from, but I heard these thoughts. Mark will go on TV and he'll be asked these 3 questions. You ought to go up to him, and I got the 3 questions. You ought to go up to him and you ought to tell him that he has this opportunity to go on TV, and then he'll have these 3 questions. So Mark finishes preaching, he comes down, he chats with me. I greet him, he knows me, so I greeted him and I said, oh Mark, this strange thing happened while you were preaching. I was listening to you sharing about leadership, but God spoke to me a word for you, and I told him the word. He turned to me and he said, only one other person knows, and they wouldn't have told you. But I was rung by ABC yesterday to go on TV, to be in an audience and to be asked some questions. I didn't know what the questions were, but they wanted to set me up against the Anglican Church because our type of church was growing and the Anglican Church was decreasing, and they wanted to set us up as two opposing forces. And so I said to them, no, I wasn't going to come on TV. But on the basis that you've given me the questions, and on the basis that God's spoken to you about that, I'll ring them back and I'll tell them I'll come on TV. So Mark was in an audience, on TV, in a live audience, and he was asked, lo and behold, 2 of those 3 questions. They ran out of time for the 3rd one. But he was asked those questions. But he was prepared. They didn't trap him. Because you know on TV, if you know anything about how they're treating Christians on TV, they were trying to trap him. But he had wise answers for those questions because God had prepared him. Now, why do I tell you that? Remember, I'm just Balaam's donkey. Okay? So don't worry about me. You can forget my name. You can forget all of that. But you can know that God can speak prophetically. And God can speak specifically. And God can speak in powerful ways that can bring transformation to people's lives. Does it make me a better person that I can do that? No. I'm a better person if, and I don't have time to go there, but if you go to Galatians 5, verse 22 and 23, I'm a better person if I can do this well. Galatians 5, verse 22 and 23 is more love, more joy, more peace, more patience, more kindness, etc. The 9 fruit of the Spirit. If I have those 9 fruit of the Spirit in more abundance, then I believe I'm actually a better person. Because 1 Corinthians 13, 1-4 speaks about it, doesn't it? If I can speak in the tongues of angels, but have not love, I'm nothing. If I can prophesy, etc., etc., if I can sing with cymbals, etc., then I'm nothing unless I have love. So it's about us living out of love. Don't get caught up in the gifts. Don't be enamoured by the gifts, but rather see that it's Jesus, the giver of the gifts, that you want to pursue. Fair enough? Okay, so let's continue. Are you still awake? Give people a bit of a wriggle. So if you need to, just tap each other. It's a Friday night. Actually, let's do this. Are you still with me for the moment? I just want to go for a little bit longer. I'll release you in a little while for supper. Are we okay for a little bit longer?
Oh, yeah.
Tom's saying go till 12. I said, give him a break. No, he didn't really say that. I was
We
just
don't need
teasing.
to go to bed.
You don't need to go to bed tonight? Wow!
All night.
Thanks, Amy. Amy's an all-nighter. All right, just stand up. Stand up, because some of you, unlike Amy,